Hello, I'm Dr. Kevin Connors, and I want to welcome you to this really introduction to what our Stop Fighting Cancer course is and why we put it together. That's my ugly mug down there in the corner, and this is really our kind of template for our clinic. Now, our courses were really birthed off of really educating people. I have a lot of courses already. Um, the Stop Fighting Cancer course is really our first one, and that's really our flagship course. But after doing the Stop Fighting Cancer course, I realized I needed courses on other things that we are providing. Like, okay, a big piece of dealing with cancer is to deal with detoxification. Maybe the Lyme course really has the least to do with the Stop Fighting Cancer course. But if you're not dealing with detoxification and really understanding what I've written in my book, The 7 Phases of Detoxification, if you're not really understanding those 7 phases of detoxification really thoroughly, you're going to have a difficult time recovering from any disease, cancer being one of them. So rather than making the Stop Fighting Cancer course so large that nobody could get through it, I created these other courses. Some people need detoxification that don't have cancer, obviously. But certainly, if you're going to do the Stop Fighting Cancer course, learning detoxification is key too. Made that a course in itself. Certainly, if you're going to be dealing with cancer, you need to look at your genetics. That's a key component of what we've done for years. So we've actually created a course around that. We have dozens and dozens and dozens of genetic videos that we've created to explain these genetic families and how dealing with them is crucial to getting better from any disease whatsoever. So that's another course in itself as well. And then the frequency healing course, well, that ties into the Stop Fighting Cancer intimately for me, because that's how I really got into helping people with a cancer diagnosis back in the 90s, was my love for Rife machines and Rife technology. Now that has to do, if you don't know what that means, you're going to learn about it in the book, and you're going to learn about it in the Stop Fighting Cancer course. But the Rife technology is really what brought me into, this is how God dragged me into the field of taking care of people with cancer, quite honestly. It was my love for Rife technology that I learned about when I was in school in the early 1980s, and I was just, in love with of what Royal Rife did, and it's like I just felt, compelled to someday be able to help people using frequencies. And it wasn't until the late 90s when a patient came in my office with bilateral breast cancer, and I tell that story in multiple places. But that's really what brought me down that pathway. And what really brought us to putting together the Stop Fighting Cancer course, which was our first one that we put together, was my book. So I wrote this book. It had a different cover. I think my first edition was maybe in 2010, 2012. I can't remember. And I wrote 2 editions following that. And this is our 3rd edition and our latest edition that I put together in 2020. It has nearly 600 pages. Now, the struggle with this is that it's nearly 600 pages. Goodness sakes, that's a lot of pages. Personally, I don't even like to read. I was born, with a reading dyslexia issue. It wasn't until, when I was in high school that I read my first book, because I went to a practitioner, a chiropractor who did kinesiology and did some acupuncture, and found out that I had dyslexia. I couldn't read a book. I couldn't even read a page without, not understanding or remembering anything I did. That's a story in itself. But that's how I went into this field of helping people, because I was helped by somebody else. But I know that a 600-page Stop Fighting Cancer and Start Treating the Cause book can be overwhelming to people. So we have to break this down. We have to break this down into pieces. We're discussing with the team, this is a couple years ago actually, we have to figure out how to break this down into an educational format that people can have bite-sized pieces, and not just reading material, but videos. I love making videos because I like to educate. That's really what I think my spiritual gift is to be able to take complex concepts and break them down into pieces so the average person can better understand them, and more than that, can utilize those concepts to make their life better. And to me, that's the key. This is my quote. The gift of knowledge is a beautiful thing. Knowledge is wonderful, but knowledge in itself is limited because it is the application of that knowledge. And if you can't apply your knowledge, what good is that? And I believe that wisdom is the application of knowledge, and that can be life-changing. You know, the Apostle Paul talked about this in detail in the New Testament. He said, I think 19 times he said, use the phrase, brethren, I don't want you to be ignorant. Ignorance is not a good thing. Whether it's ignorance about Scripture that can end up leading us to hell, or ignorance of our body, or ignorance of how to care for ourselves, ignorance how to raise our children, ignorance how to have a good marriage, ignorance how to have good relationships. That is not good. We are called to use this gray matter between our ears, and I believe we have a responsibility to that. I mean, Jesus spoke of this in parables, that when to whom much is given, much is expected. Meaning God has given us so much, and we can ask for wisdom from Him and ask for knowledge from Him, but we have to do our part too. You have to study to show yourself approved. It is not a good thing for you just to turn over your life to someone else. In a spiritual sense, I'm just going to do what my pastor said and just trust him or her, or you certainly in a medical sense. It's the same thing. And of course, I'm not functioning as your pastor, but I am functioning as a practitioner, to an educator, to give you information so that you don't just turn over your personal power, if you want to use that terminology, to a doctor, to an oncologist. Hey, I have cancer, so I'm just going to do everything my oncologist says. Well, then, that might not be a great thing. It might be good. Your oncologist cares about you. He or she wants to do what's best for you. But is it right just to turn over that responsibility of your health and your life and your future to somebody else? I just don't think so. I don't think that's what God's calling us to do. I think we use doctors, and we could use oncologists, and we could use all their skill sets that they possess, but then we have to balance it out with doing our own study and doing our own research and looking at what we can add to this picture, or what our responsibility in this is. We're not to be ignorant. So that's what this is all about. So I think that's what you're seeking. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to this video at 8 minutes into it already. You are seeking information so that you can apply that information to better your life, to better your outcome. You have a cancer with a 30% 5-year success rate, meaning a 30% 5-year survival rate. By doing other things, adding stuff that's in my book and that other great practitioners have developed and produced, you might double that. You could have a 60% or 80% 5-year survival rate, and you could have a much more meaningful and better life and better outcomes. That's the whole idea. We're not trying to reproduce oncology, or we're not trying to take the place of medicine. We're trying to educate you so that you can add to whatever pathway God is leading you down. That's the whole purpose. So in this Stop Fighting Cancer course, I basically literally took my book, broke it down into modules, put it into transcripts, put it into videos and audio format that is literally a living course, because I'm adding to it constantly. And through that course, through the modules, you will be able to walk through some steps that you could help yourself and feel like that you got your power back, that you're not just passing on the responsibility for your healing to someone else, but you are taking control back, and you feel like you can make your own more educated decisions. So there's 7 modules. The first one is about the natural, what I call the natural Band-Aid approach. We don't want to just, cover up symptoms with supplements. We want to deal with some root cause things. Module 2 is what I've called the Conners method, because I literally share a video. I used to teach doctors my method, my cancer method. I gave that up years ago. It's like, no, I just don't feel like that's my calling. My calling was to help people, the lay population, and to help them. And I wanted to give my information to them. That's I stopped teaching doctors when I wrote the 2nd edition of my book. But I have a video of one of my seminars of teaching a doctor on that. It's called the Conners method, and it walks you through a lot of steps that we look at when that I believe that a cancer patient should look at. And then module 3 is digging to find the cause. Now you can't perfectly find the cause of your cancer, but there's a lot of reasons why people get cancer. There's always a reason why. You have to ask yourself that question. I think it's foolish not to, regardless of whether it's cancer or whatever it is. Why do I have this? It's not because of, something that happened to you, meaning that like a genetic precursor that now you have cancer because your mother had breast cancer and you're doomed to have breast cancer. There's a reason. Maybe you have cancer in your family because you all live in the same area and you're exposed to the same amount of toxins and you have the same genetic defects, that you don't get rid of those toxins, and those toxins can settle in cells and damage the DNA and cause rapid replication, and that's what cancer is. But in this module we dig through that. There's biotoxin causes, toxic causes, anything that could get inside the cell and damage the DNA and the replication cycle can be a cause of cancer. So in module 3 we dig into that. Module 4, we start addressing what do you do about it? So I just call it address the cancer, because we can't say treat the cancer. So what are you going to do specifically for your cancer? And in there we have protocols that I have put together over doing this. I've been in practice for 35 years. I'm not practicing anymore. I'm dedicating my life to teach everything that I've done over the last 35 years in these courses. So I'm pouring my life into these courses. Ask my wife, I still work 10 hours a day, but now I'm taking that 10 hours a day, instead of doing one-on-one calls with people, I'm pouring my life into these courses, everything that I know. I'm addicted to studying, and as I study, I'm taking those concepts, at least I'm trying my best to break them down into chewable morsels that you can take and better your life. Then module 5, I call it programming your life, but really I've expanded this module. Remember, this is a living course. So this module is slowly becoming all sorts of different therapies that you could add at home. Now, years ago, when we used to see patients in the office, people came in and we used the Rife and the PEMF and different tools on them. It would be a destination clinic like any clinic, because, hey, I'm a doctor and people come to me and they get care and they go home. But it was a number of years ago, I had a patient that had pancreatic cancer with metastasis to the stomach, the liver, I think it was the esophagus, I don't remember. But he was given 2 weeks to live by Mayo. At that time we were practicing in Minnesota. He came to us, 2 weeks to live, given to him by Mayo, and he looked the part. He was ashen gray. He did not look healthy. He was in his later 70s. And he started with us on the Rife. That's when we just saw people in the office again. And he just slowly started getting better and getting better and getting better. Well, kind of funny story about that was that he was only started with us after a week of care. He was starting to actually look a little bit better color after that week. And he said, hey, my son's coming up from California. His son lived in California, and we're going hunting next week. And I thought, oh my goodness, Lord, what did you send me this person for? Well, maybe it's just for him to be able to go hunting with his son one more time. I'm okay with that. You got a plan that's bigger than mine. I trust you and your sovereignty. Well, he came back after that week. Okay, I'm ready to start again. And he just kept going and going. He just kept getting better and better. And then about a year into his care, he said something like, hey, I just want to let you know that we're moving to our house in California. They had a winter place in California. We're going to go there. And do you know anybody that has the Rife or practitioner that uses the Rife down there? And that was literally one of those aha moments for me, because I just prayed about, Lord, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do with him? And I don't hear these audible voices, but I felt in my heart, in my spirit, that the Lord just said, well, what would you do if you had cancer? And this is before I had cancer, so if you want to know my personal story, go back to our website and hear my personal story with cancer. But my answer back to the Lord was, well, if I had cancer, I'd have this at home and I'd be doing it every night while I'm sleeping. And I just felt his answer back was, well, you should be doing this on everybody. So we just changed our whole plans. We stopped seeing, gradually stopped seeing people in the office. Everything was at a distance. We just shipped program Rifes out to people, and they started using the Rifes at home. And that's what we did for years. Now I don't practice at all one-on-one anymore, but we still program Rife machines. I've been doing Rife programming since the late 90s when we first got our Rife. I have a lot of experience in it. So I have written programs for probably every cancer that exists. So if you have cancer, we program the Rife for you. If you purchase a program Rife from us, that's a big piece of it. In this module, we go over that. But again, I've expanded this module. It talks about other therapies that you can have at home. I'm really big into having therapies at home if you can do that, because it's just, I think if you can only use it a couple hours a week, or you could use it every single day, it's a big difference in the benefit of that therapy. And then module 6 is really cleaning up your environment, not just your environment of your house, or, cleaning up your pesticides and chemicals you use on your lawn, but on your body environment, your diet. What should you be doing about your diet? Very specific dietary protocols are given in module 4. But in here we go over just some details of, a lot of people know a lot of this stuff in module 6, but we just try to put it together of just, hey, you need to start being conscious of these things, because these are the things that can cause disease, cause cancer. And even if it's not a specific cause of cancer for you, it's certainly toxins and chemicals and things in our environment decrease our immune response. And anything that decreases our immune response increases the rate of cancer growth and increases the ability for cancer to metastasize, and we don't want that. And then module 7 is cancer can't kill you if you're already dead. And this is my spiritual take on cancer and God's sovereignty. But more than that, it's dealing with the emotional aspect of having a serious disease. And again, I personally have gone through this, and so I can personally speak to that. And I recommend you go back to my personal story. There's really dark days in my personal story that I was convinced, I think it was 3 years ago now, that I was not going to see Christmas. And I was prepping my family and talking to my kids. We have 20 grandkids now. And at that time, maybe we had 14 or 15 or something. But I was really prepped mentally that, hey, this is the way God's going to take me home, and so be it. But I'm going to serve him up to the day I die. And I feel miserably on a regular basis on that, but that's my desire. So I go over an emotional, spiritual aspect in module 7. Now understand, this is the course. This is the Stop Fighting Cancer course. It goes beyond that. So, from our Stop Fighting Cancer course, it's packed with all this information, you can then purchase a fully programmed Rife, which I program. So, and with the fully programmed Rife, you get the frequency healing course. You can purchase other beneficial tools that I teach about as well. So different hyperthermia or EMF machine or saunas and different things like that, coffee enema equipment, all these different things that I teach about, we have that you can get from us if you want. Now you can purchase a full genetic review. That's a key component, and I talk a lot about that. And again, I've created a course about that. You get free access to the Read Your Genes course, and we go over your full genetic review from a cancer perspective. And with that full genetic review, you get a full breakdown of what we think would be action steps based upon your genes. Or this is what most people do when they do the course. They add our full private membership. Now, again, I'm not in practice any longer. I don't do one-on-one calls, but it's through our full private membership that you have access to me. We do weekly group Zoom calls. Actually, we're doing 2 a week right now. So you can jump on our protocol Zoom call. You can jump on our weekly Q&A Zoom call. Through the full membership, you have full access to our members-only site. And on the members-only site, that's where you can put in questions for the Zoom call. And that's where it's a full expanded site. So through that site, you have access to all of my nutritional and dietary protocols specific for your cancer type. And it's not just one, because something might work and then it stops working. And so I have multiple protocols for these cancers. This is based all on my experience and me praying about these protocols and asking God to give me wisdom and to break down that wisdom into useful bite-sized pieces. You have access to literally hundreds. I think last count was 900 blog posts and articles that you can have access to. And they're indexed, so you can search. They're all searchable. I want to know about aromatase inhibitors. You can type in that search bar, aromatase inhibitors, and boom, you're going to find 3 or 4 articles on aromatase inhibitors and the best ones to use for what thing. You're going to have access to all our summits and master classes. You're going to have access to all my own Q&A video library, which is a huge library, and all our YouTube videos that are exclusive to our course or our membership that you can't get on our YouTube channel because they just won't let us put them there. And you have access to all our other health courses. So the frequency healing course, the genes course, all those courses are free to our full members. So then our comprehensive membership is basically everything on here. So you get the Rife Machine, you get the genetic review, and you get the full private membership. So remember, I believe in teaching how to use things, right? So if a person purchases a Rife Machine from us, that's why I created the frequency healing course, because I don't want you, I think the worst thing that I see in life is somebody purchases a treadmill and it becomes something that they hang their clothes on, right? We have these great ambitions. We're going to use this tool for the betterment of our life, and we don't. It's too hard. I'm too tired. I'll do it tomorrow. Well, I'm guilty of that too, but I certainly don't want anybody guilty of that when they purchase a Rife Machine from me. Because if you're going to purchase a Rife Machine from me, it comes with all of my years of experience to create those programs and to put them together for you to use. Believe me, over the years, I've gotten Rife Machines back from a family member of a person who died, and I have a way of looking up on the log to see how many times they use it. And they've had it for 6 months and used it 4 times. That is just a crying shame. That's just, to me, that's just sad. It's just really sad. You're not going to let that happen to you. So I actually put together that course. It's got, I think the frequency healing course has got 7 modules, same as the Stop Fighting Cancer course, with how to use this. Any, Q&As, tons of videos, how to use it for your family, for other things, how to use it for your kids. Most of my adult kids have a Rife Machine at home to use for their kids, my grandkids. So they got a cold or something, run the Rife on the cold and flu. You use a tool. It's only as good as you could use it. So that's why I put together that course. Same thing with the genes. A lot of people go run their genetics and then they have somebody go over it that, sorry, they just don't know what they're doing. So I don't want that to be your excuse for not taking that data and applying it. So I put together a Read Your Genes course. Now that is 4 modules, but module 3 is packed full of videos on just about every gene family that exists. So you will be fully equipped. Plus, we don't just give you the readout, because it comes with, if you do our genetics, it comes with like a 250 plus page readout that is like, oh my word, what am I going to do with this? So we break it out and we give you 2 other reports that we've created that tell you what I think are the most specific gene families that you need to address and you need to deal with. And then another report that's called our action steps report is, here's some things you should do. Here's some dietary things you should follow. Here's some nutritional things you should follow. Here, you need to consider these things. Key component. You gotta make use of the data that you get, right? So breaking it down into pieces where you can use it and it becomes beneficial to you. That's what the courses are all about, right? And I listed the full private membership out before, but it is literally a private member site with everything you can think of. Now, this is only for cancer. So the private member site is not for Lyme disease or not for, somebody who just wants to detox mercury. That is important, but it's only for cancer. This is our private cancer member site. So again, our desire and our heart is to constantly be asking why do I have this? What is going on? How am I going to deal with this? Asking better questions, I think, is the key to having better success, no matter what you're doing, right? And I've stressed it over and over again, but it is literally the application of knowledge that is wisdom. And that's what's going to change our lives. And that's my hope and prayer for you. Now, our bottom line is that, I want to share, and I feel like, what my calling is to teach. That's why me getting out of private practice so that I could teach a greater number of people was the best thing that God did. He forced my hand in some ways, but this is my calling, is to share what I can learn and to give it to you in ways that you can make positive changes in your life. That's our prayer to you. I just really hope that this course is a blessing, and everything that we do can be a blessing long in the future and long after I'm gone. That's our prayer. Thanks.